very important thing. You know, kind of knew that going into the game, that it was going to be that type of atmosphere, and I think that's very important for our team, being on the younger side, to experience. So those are critical, and you have to feel what it's like to play such a good team on the road. Your margin for error is so small, and you know it's an important building block along your progression for the season. You know, you if you're going to lose games, you want it to be against a really good team, and you want it to hurt. And you know, there's the collection of coaches and players in the locker room right now are hurting because you know they feel like they left some plays on the field for sure. So you know, losses, if approached the right way, if you're not pointing fingers and you're looking internally, can be a good thing too. And so that's what we'll be determined to make this moving forward, starting with tomorrow.
A little self-inflicted in there. You had a touchdown called back by penalty, 10 penalties. They had none, which is a little unusual. But that's just the way it goes. What do you do to because penalties have been an issue a little bit as a season. Is that something in your mind that in the back of your mind that you need to continue to improve?
No,
eliminate?
Oh, well, without a doubt, you can't be minus 10 in penalties. So you look at the what's the commonalities for it? Is there a pattern? And you have to look at it case by case and look at it hard. You can't just point a finger and say that's not fair. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's more about looking at ourselves, the stuff that we can control, and what things that we can clean up in our game. You know, generally penalties occur when you're out of position in any phase. So you have to start with that and make sure that guys understand and learn from stuff. Because if you're going to go through anything that's as frustrating as this loss, you might as well, or you better make it worth it. So that will be our focus for sure.
On the interception, Tua called it an underthrow. There were two players in the same area. It seemed like that happened another time earlier too. Was there miscommunication on routes going on?
No, that one in particular. There was a couple double moves that are kind of built for man coverage, so it kind of disperses that way, where they're kind of close together. It's something that we've been working on for a while, and you know those are things you have to learn from in terms of that particular play with Tua, because you know playing quarterback in this league is tough enough, but getting used to adjusting, you know, when you don't have protection versus when you do. On that particular play, I thought we did have solid protection there, and so when Tua watches the film, I'm sure he'll be critical of himself, as you know, as the leader he is and where he's at in his career. He's pretty overly accountable for throws, and he kind of let that one fly on his back foot, you know, and I was hoping Raheem could step back and make a play on the ball. He had an issue doing so with apparently what was legal contact down the field. So you know that's definitely not why we lost the game for sure. That play, I thought Tua had a very, very good game, all things considered, and made a ton of plays under some duress.
So, Mike, you came in with the number one rushing attack in the league. I think you had 45 rushing yards, give or take. How much did that affect your play calling and just the rhythm of the offense?
Oh, you know, we were behind the chains more than we're used to. We had some, small nuanced details of some plays that, hats off to the Philadelphia Eagles because they made us pay every time that we were, maybe our track was a little too tight or too wide, or an offensive lineman was a hair off. But that's we rely on the running game to have successful offense. We got it going a little too late in the game. So that's something that we take pride in, and we'll be sure to get better from moving forward.
We saw a similar kind of preseason issues on the road again in a raucous environment. Just naturally, going to try to win some of these games on the road to get some.
For sure. No.
What can the team do? What can you do with the coaching staff to make sure you guys are better?
Well, I mean, from my perspective, there's a good amount that falls on my shoulders because you're working through what your team is and what you can do and can't do on the road, and there's sometimes that coaches can get a little too aggressive with some of the things that they decide to do. I felt starting with me that was the case. I think there were a couple instances where it was correctable, but there was I know we had to use one timeout because I adjusted the play call late because of the so that isn't on the players, and then there was just we weren't maybe as crisp as usual coming out the huddle, which always leads to stuff, and we'll take a hard look at that in terms of what we were doing and how we were doing it, and make sure that we get better, because it definitely wasn't good enough to win to beat a football team like that, which was a shame because I thought our defense. Our defense gave us a definite chance to win with the way they played and made some serious physical plays that were kind of wasted. So Javon Holland was evaluated by the specialist on site and cleared, so he went back into the game. David Long came into the locker room, never came out of it. I'll get a better update on that. Haven't really had a chance to talk to Kyle and his staff, so I'll give you that information tomorrow for sure. No, he had Chase had a package of plays that the circumstances of the game kind of ran us out of. So we were expecting him to play a little bit more. But once you start having, we had with Waddle leaving the game, there was, it's more difficult to get a newer player just involved that way unless it's in his package of plays, which, like I said, we kind of digressed through his what we're planning on getting done. So he's doing a great job. He had carved out a little role with us already, and I'm hoping that expands as he gets the opportunities to play within our offense.
Like we were missing a lot of key players in this game. How much did it affect things not having, whether it's Xavier Howard, Connor Williams, he did in the game, Jalen Waddle for a time, Isaiah Wynn?
Good players. The more good players you have, it definitely makes you better. However, it would be tough for me to really look at, I kind of look at what we do have, and was very confident going into the game of the players that were scheduled to play a good amount of snaps, and I think it'll be awesome to have players return to our team, but going without X, Y, or Z, whomever it is, wasn't the reason that we lost. We were still capable of winning that football game if we're playing our brand of football at its highest.
Mike, I think X had told reporters on Friday that he was planning to play. Was it a matter of the team conscious being saving more about it, or was he physically not even?
Yeah, no, that's something that I talk to you guys a lot about, is trying to protect players from themselves, and sometimes competitors can be short-sighted in their scope. So, whether or not it just didn't seem with that position, with that injury, it didn't seem prudent to kind of press the envelope at this stage, knowing that how important he is for the entirety of the season. So he had a good week, and he'll be chomping in my ear this next week, probably every day. So because he definitely didn't like watching the game in street clothes, for sure.
Like, you could have gone into the locker room down 2 scores, so you had to drive at the end of the half to cut it to within 7, and as it turned out, you actually tied the game. What was the momentum swing? What was the feeling on the sideline when your team came back the way it did?
Validation. I think they felt very capable of doing that. It was the one thing I will say is there's some definite positives that came from this game. I felt like the team is at a place where they can compete in these type of atmospheres and against this type of opponent. But there's still some growth that needs to be had, which is part of the journey for sure. So, I was encouraged by our locker room temperament at halftime. I was encouraged by the way that we came out to the field, and we were expecting to bridge that gap for sure. So when it happened, I think guys were validated for sure, but it was too short-lived, unfortunately.
Like, start shuffling guys around on the offensive line. How does that affect your job and Tua's job as a communicator? Make sure everyone's in the right spot.
It's definitely part of the job. It's not the first, nor will it be the last. It can make things. It can add a layer, to your decision making for sure. But that is something that I see as 100% my job. So I think that's not anything that's going to go away, and it can't ever be an excuse. So you kind of have to be prepared in the event that there's shifting and shuffling. And so it had a plan. It just wasn't good enough.
Last question. No defensive snaps for Cam Smith tonight, despite X being out. I guess where's the hesitation in getting him on the field at this point?
It's just the natural growth of, there's many different journeys that players take, and he's got a room of very capable players, and I think you have to do right by the team, and you have to do right by the player to make sure that they're appropriately versed. And the main thing with him is that he's, by all testaments, he's getting better and better and closer to doing that. But you don't just have guys learn on the fly at a position like that, in my opinion, because it can, it's kind of like a quarterback where You don't want to hurt their progression by having them see the field too soon, because there can be scar tissue with that. And I really like the way that Cam goes about his business and how he competes, and he'll see his time on the field at some point. But tonight was just not the night.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thank you.